Hello and welcome to the 14 Going on 41 podcast. I'm Arvind and joining me is my delightful co-host, the Gen Z speaking, ocean loving, always mogging, bad at math and now podcasting, Kiara, a runner.
I'm Kiara. I'm that 14-year-old who is always eager to learn. And I do each week from my co-host, Arvind, the 41-year-old, and the different guests that we have each week, all of whom have taken the road less traveled.
And if you haven't tuned in before, don't worry. This isn't too self-helpy or gyan giving. We're just here to have a lot of fun conversations.
I'm actually working on being funnier for the podcast. So I've created what I like to call my snark tank. It's a list of jokes that, I can use during the podcast.
It's not like a pitching contest where someone goes on TV and tries to raise money for bad jokes.
Why would you get that idea?
I have no idea. But why do I feel most of those snarks are probably going to be about your co-host?
Well, I think it's the easiest thing to make jokes on. Like it comes the most naturally for me. So
well, I feel honored. But while you're still working on being funny, I'll continue to be my funny self with the amazing jokes that have our listeners laughing all the time.
I'll admit you do add a lot of jokes, but they're all like very, very bad, almost dad jokes.
It's a little unfortunate you feel that way, but I think they're hilarious. Maybe once you grow up, you'll understand them. But I think it makes for good entertainment.
Speaking of entertainment, that's what today's episode is all about. Our guest comes from the world of media and showbiz.
That's right. I think I'm very excited to speak to him and learn about how he's managing stars and talent. It's going to be really cool.
You can even call him the king of India's entertainment.
Wait, did our guest change? We got Shah Rukh Khan on the podcast?
Like, I love how we started recording and you still don't know who our guest is. Like, you need to seriously...
You said king of India's entertainment. I got excited. King Khan is the only king I know.
Well, our guest today is Vijay Subramaniam, in case
that's right.
you just forgot, okay?
No.
And he is working the magic behind the scenes. I can't wait to bring him on. We'll probably get to hear some very interesting stories and hear about all the dedication, the hard work, the decisions, the risks he's had to make. All of that combined, those are all his biggest flexes.
Flexes, like solar plexus. But is flex our
Gen
Z word of the day? So flex actually doesn't feel like too much of a Gen Z word because I feel like I know what flex is. People go to the gym and they flex, but flex is when you're showing off your skills, you've got some talent. And I'm a big fan of flex. In fact, every morning when I'm having my smoothie bowls, not only am I adding pumpkin seeds and chia seeds and almonds, I make sure I add flex seeds. So I know I'm ready to flex.
That is so hilarious. You're so funny, Arvind.
Thank you. I think my humor might be my biggest flex.
Right. You're an IITian, Stanford topper, CEO, but your humor is definitely your biggest flex.
Oh, you Gen Zers are talented, man. Like you simultaneously kind of praised me and roasted me in one line. So kudos. Well done.
Yeah, that's a very special talent we have. But speaking of talent, I think it's a great segue to bring on Vijay.
All right. We'll be back with Vijay Subramaniam.
Joining us today is Vijay Subramaniam, who has represented over 400 celebrities, 200,000 creators, who commands 1/5 of India's influencer market. You've built a real powerhouse with Collective. It is an honor to have you on the podcast today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I mean, I've seen you this big and now look at you doing all interviews. My God, grown up.
She's really good. Yeah. She is really good. I'm glad you didn't see me that big. But if you did, we would have been about the same size
age,
maybe.
Yeah.
Doing research for this pod, I realized like we have a few things in common. We both grew up in Bangalore.
Great commonality.
We're both mechanical engineers. We know nothing about mechanical engineering. Yeah. We both love music. You actually did something about it though.
I played.
You actually played. Yeah, so this podcast actually is all about those fork in the road moments where people decide to do certain unconventional things. And mechanical engineer turned metal band performer is not the most common thing. So just walk me through kind of just where that metal journey started, where your love for music started. And I have a feeling that may have influenced future decisions as well.
I think love for entertainment started very early. Love for sports started very early. Love for music happened because the college band needed a manager.
Okay.
And I was supposedly one of the best talkers in town for them. So they wanted me to manage them.
Okay.
And then the drummer didn't show up. And we played really simple songs. And I think I just had rhythm in my genes. So I just stepped in for a couple of jams. And they said, this sounds good enough for you to play. And so I was an accidental musician.
Did you talk yourself into playing into the band?
Yeah, absolutely. And then it was about 10 glorious years of my life, which I would say formed everything foundational of what I am today. One of the greatest moments of my life was opening for Iron Maiden in Bangalore.
Wait, you opened for Iron Maiden?
Yeah, we opened for Iron Maiden.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, one of the best moments of my life. I believe that breaking up with my band was my first breakup because it was a heartbreak. But I think those 10 years of playing in a band taught me everything that is behind this wonderful introduction. I don't think any of it would have happened if I didn't have that decade in my life.
And I'm curious, sounds like you really loved it. What led to the breakup with the band before we get into other stuff?
I don't think there was money to be made playing heavy metal. My mom used to keep telling me कि हिंदी गाना बजाओ, अंग्रेजी गाने में पैसे नहीं हैं.
Kiara, that means play Hindi songs. Yeah. There's no money in English.
Yes, I understand a little bit of Hindi. Yeah,
you're good. You do you. And it's strangely enough that 25 years later and 6 months after her passing, I've actually started a band in the company today. It's a band called Trilok, which basically does spiritual rock. So it's all her songs in my interpretation, what she would have wanted me to do probably 20 years ago, any which ways. So yeah, for me, music has always been therapy, and it's actually been my first best friend. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And I think we'd love to go further into how you went from there into everything else. But Kiara, there's one question you love to ask our guests.
So going back to when you were 14 years old, what did you actually see yourself doing? What did you dream of doing when you were older?
Wow. I don't even think I thought that much about it, but I did know that I would do something in the creative field. I was very clear that academics was not my forte. And so I always knew I'd do something creative. What exactly would I do? And I always knew I'd do something in the whole marketing, sales, be with people, be a people's kind of guy. Because I think I was that from the get-go in school and through college. So the only vision was, I think, a version of this, of what I'm doing today, or probably a version of playing music. That was probably the only two things I did. I think I was so clear about it. It's why I didn't even land up sitting for a single campus placement. I was the only guy in my batch that actually didn't sit on a single campus placement.
Like
none. We had about 150 companies come over. I didn't sit in on one.
You didn't want to do anything engineering. You didn't want to do anything in that field.
Zero. I think I was clear about that through my third semester.
And so how did you actually go from then, okay, love this passion, love everything else. Of course, mechanical engineering is probably the antithesis of that. And so you decide to pivot. You're not sitting on campus. How do you actually go about figuring out your career? Because at that stage, at least when I was growing up, campus placement seemed like the only way to actually figure out a career and do anything.
I'd gotten an internship at Globosport at that point in time, which was Mahesh Puthi's company. And through that internship itself, I'd secured the job. So I was lifting tennis balls and providing towels to tennis players in a WTA tennis tournament. So I'd secured the job through that. And right then I knew that, this is where life is going to take me in some shape or form. And so it wasn't really that difficult. I don't think I had any one eureka moment that shifted anything magical. I think it just so happened that I went, and I'm usually an all in or nothing kind of guy. So I went in so hard at it that they offered me a job immediately, and I took it. And I think ever since that, it's been just this single-minded road towards doing whatever I feel I'm doing right now.
And Globosport ultimately led you to setting up, going on to, before Collective was Collective, it was Quan.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What was the inspiration to start that?
I think to be an entrepreneur and not an employee. I think that was fundamentally the inspiration.
What was driving that?
Nothing. No big thought. Like I said, it was the same risk that you took not securing a salaried job in engineering. It was the same risk you took. I think first principles of risk taking are built into your life from the time you're a child, at least on the professional side. I think it was the first principles I took while starting a band, and choosing to play heavy metal and giving that charter the same. So I've never looked at it from a, oh wow, what if this doesn't work perspective? Because professionally, I feel I'm an eternal optimist. I start everything with a possibility that it will happen.
And how did you end up landing your first major client?
There are so many right now. I can't even think of one because I don't think there's a major client and a minor client. I think there are people that you invest in.
Usually the minor ones are under 18, I think.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Right, Kiara. If you have any aspirants listening to the show, I think when you invest in people, you invest in their journey. And you cannot classify it as big, small, or medium. You have to be genuine about investing in their journey. So I've never looked at clients as major or minor.
So who was the first client altogether that you can remember?
My first ever client was actually a drummer by the name of Roberto Narayan in Bangalore. He had this drum circle concept called Drum Jam, which we made very famous. And along with him came his better half, Vasundhara Das, who was a playback singer. So that was really my first ever client. And and then I've sort of course, after that, it's just been a, Rolling Stone gathering its own inertia and momentum over 20 years.
So you work with a famous Bollywood actress who shall not be named because it is deemed classified. Many
I work with many famous people.
And what's the coolest part about working with people from Bollywood?
Just watching the anticipation of your mother every single time for the last 15 years of anticipating gossip from me, which I never gave her. Nothing pleases me more. Your mother's anticipation for a meeting with me is like how Jaya Bachchan's anticipation is in Shah Rukh Khan in Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham. In our business, we are behind the scenes people. Now, of course, in the last 4-5 years, there are specific consumer businesses where we have to be in the front of it. But I think one part of it is very clearly playing behind the scenes. And in that, I think confidentiality, respect of information is everything. It is like working in the defense, right? What your strategy, what led to, it's their story to tell, not ours, right? So I always believe that you're the guys behind the glitter. So never talk about it. It's not your story.
And how was that like from being on the stage as a performer at one point to being behind the scenes? Was that a conscious call? Was there still a love for one or the other?
No, there is. I think I agent like a performer. So I agent
which
is why I don't agent very many people. I have a handful of clients because I believe that you can if you're investing in people, you have to go all in, and there are only that many people you can go all in with at one point in time. So the clients that I invest in, I have a standard maxim which goes, both of us are 50-50 partners in brand X.
Okay.
Right. So I'm an equal partner with you. Right. So I think for me, I would take the same risk or reservation for a client that I would to my own life. So I'm deeply invested. And I think by that, I'm deeply emotionally and sentimentally invested behind my clients. So I think you can't win in a people's business if you don't love people. You have to love them. You can't be dutiful. You're in the business where someone is on set for 10 hours or on the field for 10 hours in the hope and anticipation that while they're doing what they're doing, someone's got their back. So you have to be very responsible to that. So much the same way as you have to be responsible to playing a great song on stage. Again, first principles.
First principles, and at some level, being a performer, you know what it takes to get audiences excited.
Absolutely.
You know what it takes to drive all of that.
Absolutely.
And just to talk about talent management, maybe for our listeners, could you explain, or even for me, day to day, what is talent management?
Talent management would mean I am 14, I'm Kiara. I have decided to learn through wanderlust and through exploring the world. So what is it that will enable you to do everything that you're supposed to do and have everything else being taken care of, right? From your money to your logistics, to your dreaming, to your PR, to your communication. What do you want to be known as? What separates you from anyone else? Because remember, everyone is a brand. Prime ministers are brands. Kings and queens were brands. Gods and goddesses were brands, right? So you always have either people writing about them or people talk. It's about the commentary that you want people to have behind you in a room where you're not present. That's the job of an agent, right? Of course, outside of making your life convenient and the usual operational back-ending stuff.
Sure.
But I think the real role of talent management is not to manage the talent. Actually, I don't like the word management because it comes across like, event management or, crisis management or,
dealing with
real
requests,
estate
putting
management.
stuff. Yeah.
You're not managing a talent. You're actually enhancing their life, right? You're not supposed to manage it. You're supposed to better it. So in my case, I use the word agenting, right? Because I think we are agents to them, right? We deserve to be in a position where we can enhance their life. And that's why you should be with us, right? Otherwise, you're better off on your own.
Yeah, I'm thinking back to like the classic agenting movie is Jerry Maguire in sport.
Jerry Maguire was the founding principal of the company.
Really?
And, yeah, absolutely. I think Jerry Maguire is the greatest story ever told. I've had many Jerry Maguire moments in my life. Many.
Any you could share without going too much into your confidentiality?
No, I think there are 3 stages of talent that I've worked with. One is the 0 to 1 journey where somebody's launching. We've had many of those. The 1 to 10 journey where somebody's ascending. And then the post 10 journey where, what is the next peak to kind of climb? I think I would love, like, for example, I can say it because, she's one of my oldest clients, but I think just watching Deepika's journey in the last 10 to 12 years has been so satisfying because I think every single time that people thought that this is it, I think she's broken the box, right? And she's gone and done the next thing. And I think that's a very unique trait, right? Or if you say, look at, what's just happened recently with Ranveer and Dhurandhar, right? I think it was 2 years where he starved himself from, being out there in the public eye. And then he's just come back like a ton of bricks, becoming, the biggest box office grosser in the country today. So I just feel that I've been lucky to be a part of some of these journeys. But I feel for me, all of this is the big picture here is how good was the journey in itself as it is the destinations, because then the destination seems a lot more sweeter. And we've had this across the board, right? Singers, musicians, YouTubers, when we started managing Bhuvan Bam, he was just on YouTube. Today, he's a star on Netflix. He's got his own show on Amazon. He's got his own show on Disney. He's got his own apparel. He's got his own business lines. So I just feel that there is so much more that you can do with one's life. Hence, I go back to the point of it not being management. Because typically, otherwise, you would think talent management is managing an endorsement or a film or things like that. It's not really, right? Like, it's why Collective has now invested in AI, right? I saw this coming 3 years ago, right? And that's why we made Mahabharata. Now we're making Hanuman. Then we're making Krishna, Shiva. We made this band called Trilok. Because I always believe that you have to take a punt at what's 3 years down the line.
And that's actually a good segue to maybe a couple of pieces. I'll go with the first, but you've got now Collective with some of these acquisitions, right? There's Big Bang Social, you've got Under 25, got a brand there, you've got a bunch of other Gallery 5, etc. You've got a talent management business, which has its own ethos and DNA. You've got essentially a tech AI enablement business. There is an overall branding business, almost a tech licensing business. How do you think about bringing all of that together while maintaining a culture across businesses which traditionally have been thought of as being run very differently?
Great question. I've made this shift recently in my town halls and all of this, and all my public discourses in the company. I think at this size, it's less about culture, it's more about DNA.
And can you say a bit more about that?
DNA gives you a common purpose. Culture gives you a common living. Right? You live a certain way in a culture. A tech guy will live very differently than a talent manager. A student volunteering in a college festival will live very differently than an AI engineer. Or somebody who's in the motion picture business will not have the same life as an influencer marketing person. Right? But what is the eventual purpose? It's like you look at any big conglomerates, you look at Reliance. You have certain key tenets of saying, okay, what is the purpose of existing? Our purpose of existing is to empower more and more creators create content in various shapes or form. So the DNA of the company is enablement, right? I think it is a lot like you have a DNA as a Homo sapien, But Americans have a different culture, Europeans have a different culture. Because in the conglomerate like this, where you're dealing with technology on one side, a VC fund on one side, a marketing company on one side, and a talent management company on one side, you have to ensure that everybody's rallying around the same reason for existence. And you have to allow them pockets of their own culture. My biggest challenge in the company right now is my maxim is that I'm flying a plane as I'm building it. Right? So there's no right answer to that. I think I'll arrive at that. If I was just doing talent management, I know that team has a culture.
Sure.
Or if I see Gallery 5, that team has a culture. Or if I see Under 25, that team has a culture.
But everyone knows why the plane exists, where it's flying
everyone knows
towards.
where it's going. And for me as the captain of the ship, all I have to do is allow space for different forms of expression, but come down hard on re-emphasizing why we're doing this. Right? We're doing this very proud. Say for example, tomorrow if Kiara becomes, for me, she's like my niece, right? That's how I see her. If she becomes a very famous person, I would like to enable her more and more and more as she grows up, right? Now, there could be many Kiaras across the country. So when you talk about 200,000 creators or whatever, those numbers keep changing, going up, whatever. The idea is not about that number looking on us. It's what we're doing with it. Are we giving more jobs? Are we empowering more people? So today when students in under 25, make anywhere close to $1 lakh a month, they can afford a bike, they can buy their own Mac, they can take their parents out on a holiday. It's opportunities we never had when we were in college. So I think the company for me now is 700 employees of diversity in the way they work. I just have to ensure they're all working towards a common goal. And then they'll adapt. It's like a dressing room.
Sure.
You have to know what you're playing on the field.
Sure.
Each person will have their own forms of playing, right?
And even there, as you think about, you talked about 0 to 1, 1 to 10, 10 plus, right? As you think about the collective journey from when you started and you're well past the 0 to 1 and the 1 to 10 and the 10 plus to infinity or wherever that is headed, right? For a leader of the company, I'm sure you're very hands-on and in the trenches. And that's easier to do when it's 100 people, 200 people, now 700. I'm assuming that scale is going to come higher.
It gets easier to do when you scale.
Is that right?
Because it depends on the kind of leader that you are. I have a very simple saying. I think I'm the hardest worker in the company. Most days I'm the first one in. And I think if you're a general barking orders, at no point in time can anyone in the company, including our security staff, look at me and say they will put in more hours. And it's not about the hours. So for me, that's the wrong question because I don't delegate. I empower. And I'm not a general barking from a camp.
Okay.
So I keep relating it to Gladiator and Maximus Aurelius or 300, where I'm with you. I'm fighting the war with you. So if you're bleeding, I'm bleeding. If you're working, I'm working. I don't understand camp generals. I don't understand suits. I don't understand that form of leadership where somebody cannot turn around and say, "Yaar, when the need arises, my guy is standing next to me." Right? I'm a playing coach. I'm not coaching from the dugout. Right? So I think I keep flipping. So that question never really hits me because I am of the firm belief that the one thing, if anybody in your team can say, "Yeah, I can put in more effort than this guy." So when you're leading with that attitude, right, that you can't out effort him, right? You may outsmart him, you may be sharper than him, but when it comes to digging your heels deep, this guy is a horse who runs like a donkey, right? And I think that for me is very critical. In fact, I'm working harder, I'm working more, not because there's more work to do, but I just feel my dreams are becoming bigger. I mean, why build SpaceX after Tesla, right? Why build Blue Origin after Amazon, right? Why build Geo after petrochemicals and refineries?
That's a great segue to a later question we'll have on happiness, where we talk about legacy and success, happiness, various other things. But it's interesting you say that because I think a lot of startup founders sometimes go from best player on the team, playing captain to coach in the analogy you use, and sometimes struggle with it because you're like, okay, am I as hands-on? And sometimes it is because they are generals in the trenches, but they're also not empowering teams enough. And so that balance of you've empowered teams enough, but are also fully running and chasing stuff is phenomenal, because I think that sets the right example and culture.
I had a question about, you mentioned you're doing now a lot of work with AI. And as a teenager who's growing up in a world where AI is becoming used more and more, while you're working with it, what are the things you're excited about? And what are the things that make you nervous about artificial intelligence?
I'm not a naysayer on AI at all. So if you ask me what are the negatives of AI, it would be equal to what are the negatives of the internet many, many years ago, right? What excites me is possibility. We're making Mahabharat. There's a 23-year-old girl directing it. She's out of Whistling Woods. She would have taken 20 years to have her own show on primetime TV, but her name is on the credit slate at Star Plus on every Sunday at 7:30. I think the commentary on AI is more governance than fear. You can't be afraid of something that's going to happen. I keep telling people that when automobiles came in, chariots were redundant. If you're having a fleet of chariots or horses, what would be the negative? You may not be needed anymore. When personal computing came and typewriters went out, when iPhone came and Kodak and Canon went out, people thought Netflix and Amazon are going to take away theatrical jobs. But imagine the number of careers Netflix and Amazon have built today. If you didn't have Netflix and Amazon, the ability to emerge for any performing star was non-existent, right? How many people made it to the movies? So I just feel, I feel AI is a huge enabler. It's high time you bite the bullet and adopt it as a friend and stop treating it like a foe. Because that happened with the advent of the internet and cybercrime, right? There's always a negative to evolutionary technology.
That doesn't mean you turn your back on it, adapt to it, learn it, figure out what's best.
You can choose to, but then you'll be the one left out.
Sure.
Then you can't crib at that point in time that you got left out. You can choose to say that I will only do sets of 500 crores and realize 3 years down the line that nobody's paying you that 500 crores because actually you can create that set in 5 crores. It's a fundamental math issue, right? And, when people keep telling me, AI will take jobs of spot boys. Animation did that, right? VFX studios did that. So I think animation didn't require actors. But behind the scenes, we still have real writers, real directors, real people, content creation.
Yeah.
Imagine, a kid sitting in Patna creating content because he genuinely can make his hut look nice. His content can look aspirational. Kiara today can afford to make aspirational content, but a Kiara in, Raipur, living in, an 800 square feet ghetto, can she afford it? No, right? So for me, anything that empowers is good.
It democratizes access, gives you opportunities.
Put in all the regulations, no doubt about it.
Because I'm a big fan. And other than the fact that my initials are AI, I've always been a believer in AI for a long time. But I do think in the creative field, like things around copyright and those things around how do you manage to keep that?
It's like piracy. You've always had this fight. It's not like you've not had the fight.
Agree. Completely agree.
Lokhandwala station will have 100 counterfeits. Which business does not have IP infringement? Right? Today, it's a huge hue and cry. 10 years, it won't be. That's the absolute truth. So, training data will get more authentic. I also feel that when something becomes so large,
you have to get on board.
Critics of AI are armchair activists. That's my simple view on it. So, what's the negative? Everything that the world says is a negative is a negative. But what's the positive? I'm seeing the positive. I'm seeing it play out every single day in my office.
That is very cool. And before we move on to the next segment, you've always talked about being 3 years ahead, 3 years ahead. If you're looking 3 years ahead now, is there a certain thing you're looking at 100%. In a big way?
I think looking at building a company that puts India's stories forward more than anything else, that's the whole construct behind the collective history was, which is to bring India's stories forward, empowering our clients more.
And India stories forward to the world. Kind of like what K-pop did for Korea, like
to the world.
India pop culture.
To the world. Like I think I'm very proud of making Hanuman. I'm very proud of making Krishna. I'm very proud of making Shiva.
And these, by the way, are animated movies. You're not actually making
these
comics.
Are AI-enabled films, which will have triangulation of hyperreal meets 3D meets animation meets VFX. It'll be a combined pipeline. We've partnered with Microsoft.
We saw a shout out from Satya Nadella
for
for the work you're doing.
us
Congratulations.
Do that. Thank you. So that's one. Powering India's youth through under 25 is because we are the world's largest young population.
Mhm.
That's very, very important to me. And, giving our clients more and more edge, building many more, multi-million-dollar businesses, relevance, newer avenues of growth. I think these are the three pillars. In all three, I see tech and distribution play a very large role. And that's where, I'm investing a lot of my time and energy.
Excellent.
I have one last question.
Go for it.
Through your amazing journey, at what moment did you realize, like, aha, I've made it, or I feel successful now?
No, I don't. I genuinely don't. I don't do it till today. I don't smell the roses. It's a huge negative. No, never do that. Sit back and enjoy. I've spent 40 years of my life forgetting the last success so quickly that it was next second. So
is that a move on mindset? Are you a harsh critic of yourself, or is it?
No, I don't care about a success beyond that moment. I move on to the next thing very quickly. I spend a lot more time on figuring what went wrong than I do on celebrating what went right. So that's good and bad. I don't advise that to people. I think you should at times sit back and take in the moments, because I think then you just become such a growth chaser that there are days where you're like, okay, why am I doing this? And then you have to just rebuild yourself to the purpose. So I don't think any successful person turns around and says that was my eureka moment. I think they'll turn around and say, okay, that was good. Because the moment you say that, you're, I think, at some point allowing yourself getting off the car for a minute.
And then once you're off the car, for a moment, you're like, oh, maybe, is it good to get off the car actually? Because you said there's no good or bad.
There's no good or bad. Yeah. I think there are a lot of people who love this construct of balance. I don't have any. I don't say it with any negative emotion. I think it's like in a band, I keep telling people, does Metallica say that they are working when they're touring 300 days a year? They might not. Does Virat Kohli say that I'm so busy, I'm playing all year long? No, right? Is there a work-life balance in being Metallica and being Virat Kohli? No. I think they're in harmony. They're chasing their dream.
Sure.
It's the same thing I'm doing at Collective. So I am not when people come down hard on it, I think entrepreneurs need to be obsessed if you have to be successful. If you have to be successful to a point where you're doing something industry defining. If you're not obsessed, you'll be another good company. That's not bad. That's great. You can be a very good company. But you're hosting me on this pod, obviously, because you think there's something I've done in the business where I'm worthy of sitting on this pod, right? So for me, I don't want to build a very good company. I want to build an industry company. That's the difference.
So that's very interesting. And it makes me think of the balance, right? Because there is a bit of, I get the obsession part, but there's also a bit of taking a moment, like you said, to, like, I don't know if James Hetfield at some point is like, oh, I made it. We are, the greatest metal band in the history, and maybe we can debate that. I think they are.
Yeah, I'm a big Metallica fan.
There you go. Megadeth may disagree, but anyway, whatever the case may be, like, I wonder if there is also an element of, I've made it, I've got there, but now I want to aspire for more. Or is it the fact that you never take a moment to celebrate that keeps pushing you further and further, right? I don't know if there's a correlation or it's just personality driven, but
I think it's personality driven. I think it's to each his own. I think it's what you wake up for in the morning. And I feel so much of it is also perception about what you feel you're adding back to the world, right? So when I see my son show off a piece of work that we've done, when I see friends like Dan and Naveen be proud of what I'm doing, at the end of the day, you have to define why you're doing what you're doing. And I think if you are an impact builder, you want to see that impact. And you want to see that impact play out in the flesh while you're alive, right? Not when you're gone.
Another great segue to a game that we play later on. But now it's time for the 14th going on 41 What If segment. So join us after the break where we will be doing that. We're back and here to play the 14 going on 41 What If segment. And so to explain this segment to you, we're going to be asking questions which all start with the words what if, and going back and creating hypothetical scenarios about what if certain things had changed, and asking you to envision life that way. So I'm going to start off with the first what if question, which is, what if you could actually go back to when you were 14 years old and have a conversation with your 14-year-old self? What advice would you give yourself?
Be kinder to yourself.
You were hard on yourself.
Very. Still am.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll jump straight into the next.
Yeah.
What if your music career had taken off? What if that metal band that you were a part of was that big sensation? Where do you think you'd be now?
Leading my best life, by far. The best version of me is behind a drum set. Still.
And you still do that? Like you said, it's your therapy.
I mean, I don't play the drums so much more because I think I have a little bit of, it's like a sore spot.
Okay.
I know. Because if there's no follow on to that, so that's why now I play the guitar, I play the piano, I play music.
Wow.
It's not anything else.
That's
But yeah, if I was still a musician, that's the best life.
My next what if is, what if you had actually stayed down the engineering path?
As hard as it might be to imagine.
Unimaginable. But what if, huh? Continue.
Yeah. No, how do you see your life looking?
Ooh, wow. It's so much not in my possibility.
Your last answer was you were living your best life. So
I would not even be living my worst life. I wouldn't be living. If I was doing CAD/CAM designing in Airbus or Boeing, or doing some crap in coding in some IT company, or, making rotors or some some fluids for no chance.
Thermodynamics, fluid dynamics.
No,
we just lost our 3 listeners who are all mechanical engineers.
Yeah, not to offend any engineer.
Okay. No. Mechanical engineers are geeks.
That is fair. What if you get to this point where AI, like you said, is already coming in faster and everything else? What if just the speed of adoption is even 10x faster than you thought it might be? What are you just seeing happening to the creator economy and your business over the next 18 months?
It'll turbocharge if you're an adopter. It'll die if you're a fence sitter.
And how will it turbocharge? Like, what would you be doing?
Everything, man. I can make I'm doing 5 feature films and 6 shows. I'll probably do 50 features. I'll probably have a release a month. Imagine telling all the stories I want to tell, because I just can.
And how do you then get into, is there too much content out there? So how do you figure out?
There is too much content out there already. I mean, look at what Instagram does to you. You're facing mental real estate, right, as a challenge right now. That's the space you're wanting. So I think we're well past those thresholds. Too much content, too much cricket, it's all there already. I mean, what more can you do? It's not.
So just get on board and the best will survive. The 1% will float.
I mean, how do you stop evolution? If the screen gets smaller, if the content, now micro dramas, people are watching an entire fiction thing for 1.5 minutes. I mean, how do you make sense of that? That'll become 30 seconds.
2-second movies.
2-second movies.
So done. One ball cricket matches.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Interesting.
What if you could swap lives with any one of your
Lars Ulrich, Metallica. Not clients. Only one person I'll swap my life with. The drummer of Metallica.
Lars Ulrich's a great guy. He was my favorite drummer.
Yeah. Lars Ulrich, Metallica. No one else.
Someone may need to explain the references.
Lars Ulrich is the drummer of Metallica, the greatest band that ever stepped on earth.
Where's Zeppelin in this?
Metallica is the greatest band that's ever stepped on earth.
Okay.
Period. Greater than the Beatles, greater than Zeppelin, greater than sliced bread.
Where is K-pop Demon Hunters and all this?
I have no clue. I've seen it. That's Kiara's answer.
No, it's not.
Kiara and my daughter will answer that question.
I'm not big on K-pop. Okay. What if you were 14 years old today? What would you be experimenting with?
I would not know what I would do if I was 14 years old today, because you kids are out of whack, to say the very least. I mean...
And your kids are how old?
1 year. My daughter is 1.5 years younger to her. They've grown up together. My son is 10. It's so polarized. My daughter just became house prefect. I told my son, why aren't you standing for student council? And he said, I have a lot of cricket going on. Why do I need the additional responsibility? I'm like, dude. And he tells me that one of the jobs of being a student council is to snitch on your friends. I have no intention of losing my friends. So please tell me. He actually had a conversation with me. Please tell me how this makes sense. You're asking me to take additional responsibility I don't want. You're asking me to lose my friends, which I don't want to lose. What are the benefits of being a student council? And I said, wow, can't argue with that.
Helps on your resume, something like that. Teaches you responsibility. You didn't have to snitch on your friends, at least back in my day. But yeah, you did have more responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what would I do if I was 14? I have no clue, Kiara. Look at you. I mean, I wouldn't lead. I don't know how to lead your life. I mean, you knew everything when we went to Africa. I was almost jealous of you and what you guys were pulling off. I have zero interest in wildlife, but I spot it every single time.
You are apparently on your phone. Everyone's like looking for an animal, and you're like looking at your phone and suddenly, oh, there's a lion there. And there are like 3 cheetahs there.
See, that is the eye for catching talent.
Ah, there you go. That's how Lion King was discovered.
Exactly.
Like whoever played Mufasa in that movie.
Yeah, there was supposed to be 21 one type of rhino. I don't even know. Dan and Kiara know. In all of Masai Mara, and I just spotted one like just randomly.
That is impressive. Rhinos are big, but I'm guessing it was at a distance and hard to
I have
spot.
no clue. I just spotted something.
Oh, it's a rhino.
Something interesting.
You have an eye for talent and an eye for detail. Well done.
Okay, now it's time to move on to the happiness rating game, and maybe Arvind will explain it.
This is quick, rapid fire, but you can actually give context if you feel like to any of these questions. It's pretty simple. Maybe when I turned 40, I started thinking about this a lot more, right? But what are the parameters that give me happiness? And so we'll ask you a series of questions, and you just rate from 1 to 5 how important you think they are for your happiness.
Go for it.
1 not important, 5 super important. Regular scale. Let me start with the first. Wealth.
4.
Okay.
Health.
I should answer 4, but I live 2.
So it's you know what it is, but you just don't live it yet. Okay. That's fine. How about fame?
3.5.
Which is interesting. You work with a bunch of people looking for fame, but you're behind the scenes yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is legacy.
5.
Okay. How about impact?
5.
Okay. Friendships or connections?
6.
And you're able to find time to prioritize that as well? Or is it like health?
People who are with me are... So I'm not a believer in having the same surname if you want to be called family. So my family is not just kids and parents. My family is anyone and everyone I deem family, and I react that way.
Friends are the family you make along the way.
I think...
Okay. And my last
one, I would lend my surname easily.
Fair enough. Let's go with the last one. Fun.
Supposed to be 4, but I think I'm at a 1.5.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed it from this record.
No, I may be a jovial guy, but I don't think I'm having fun, to say the least. I think
because you're too hard on yourself. Because you're chasing. You're constantly running. But then maybe that's what pushes you to the great things that you do.
I have, the beautiful thing that I discovered called therapy to answer that question.
It's a great plug for it. If you want to sponsor, like we'll just get a therapist coming in case you want to sign in for therapy. This is it. But you're right. I think that's deep. That is a longer conversation. But appreciate you sharing. And so it's friendship connections right on top, along with legacy and impact. Health should sort of be there, not prioritized, and then it's kind of the rest.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much for being here today, Vijay.
Thank you for having me.
And we're back in here to wrap up, Kiara. And we will obviously get to our takeaways. But first, it's time for your favorite segment.
It is my favorite segment, the good old days.
In the good old days.
So at the start of the episode, we were talking about like kings of India entertainment, etc., etc. And Vijay is the man behind the scenes, bringing talent together at the intersection of everything and making it happen. And that got me thinking of a guy named Don King, who was a promoter back in the day. And I'm sure you don't know what promoters are, Kiara.
Not exactly.
So Don King was a promoter. He actually used to promote like fights with Mike Tyson. And people would actually like come out. Wait, sorry, what?
Who is Mike Tyson?
Who's Mike Tyson?
Yeah, who's Mike Tyson?
World heavyweight champion boxer who at one point was people thought was the next big thing, was really good, then had a series of controversies, and then kind of got semi-cancelled. Also bit someone's ear in boxing. He's kind of he's a boxer. He's also showed up in the movie The Hangover. It's a guy with a big tattoo on his face. Okay, what's The Hangover?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay, let's go back to Don
I'm
King.
sorry, I just haven't heard these names before. But can we just go back to Don King's name? Because how could his parents have named him Don King and not expected for him to become anything but whatever this promoter thing is you're talking about? Good name with a name like Don King.
Fair enough, actually. I think he was destined to be a hype man because, yeah, that's what promoters were. They were hyping the fights. They were out there to make it happen, but they were getting a cut of the business. So the kind of business plus hype plus marketing. And if you needed fights to happen and make sure the world saw it, you needed a Don King there. And you're right. I think with a name like that, he was destined for it. So
speaking of destiny, I think could we move on to our takeaways from Vijay's episode?
sure.
So I'm going to start off with my takeaway. And I've gotten this advice in my life, which has really helped me as a teenager, which is
Respect 41-year-olds, especially if they're your co-host. It's great advice.
Yeah, I'm sure. But that's not the advice I'm talking about. I've never received that advice. Maybe that's why I don't use it. No, the advice is it's okay for you to not know what it is you want to do, but you should start to know what it is you don't want to do and then sort of eliminate, because you shouldn't be doing something you don't want to do. And I feel like that's what Vijay has done his whole life. Sure, he did mechanical engineering in college, but even then he didn't go for any, campus placements. And he was like, that's not something I want to do. I'm not even going to go for any of them. And that's how he sort of found his path into something that he loves doing with Collective.
Yeah.
And also with the What If segment, you asked him about what if he was still into music? I'd be living my best life.
Yeah.
What if you were still a mechanical engineer? I wouldn't be living. No.
Yeah,
So he definitely knows what he doesn't want to do. I admire that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good takeaway. And so I think that is a good trick to be living your best life. One thing I took away was something he talked about from a business side of things, which is always thinking 3 years ahead. Mm-hmm. And it's very easy when you're running a business and trying to scale it to just get caught up in the here and now. And so, the next big hype cycle is X, let's jump on it now. Oh, AI is big now, let's do it. Crypto is big now, let's do it. Oh, NFT is big now, let's do it. Oh, this is big now, let's do it. The folks who actually build sustainable advantages are the folks who see it coming in advance and are planning for it. And just always balancing that between the here and now, because in between our recording, there were clearly a bunch of calls he had to get on because he's in the here and now. But at the same time, he's got the time to think about what's happening 3 years ahead, what's happening 5 years ahead. And I think that's what sets up people to be great business leaders and true visionaries, right? Even if you look beyond business.
Unfortunately, that is all for today. So drive safe until next time, and we'll see you on the road less traveled.
Peace out, party people.